California is not where you want to be, and even the super woke leftists know it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Patrick Bet-David podcast featuring Kasparian of the Young Turks. Now, on this particular episode, they touched on quite a few topics, and one of them was the state of California, how it has completely fallen off a cliff. I mean, the policies in California is just too much. The high taxes, the way too liberal policies on drugs and crime have created a terrible environment. If you're able to live in a city like San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles, etc., either you have a lot of money to be able to live in the hills and live fairly well, or you don't, and you're going to be down in the dumps with everybody else. The crime is going to be crazy with very high rent. I saw some prices for the hood, like Compton Watts, for a single family home with bars in the window. You're talking about $600,000, 1,200 square foot, no parking, barely, in the hood in Los Angeles. That same price over here in the East, in the Southeast, you're able to get two nice houses almost. At least one very nice house with a gate and everything else. No hood activities at all. Now, before I go too far into California, let's roll the clip from Kasparian and the Patrick Bet-David podcast. I will link to their entire podcast and this full clip in the description box. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio. Go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
How is California like today? How is your governor doing today? And why are you still in California?
I'm still in California. I was born and raised.
Okay, so let's pause for a minute. First, that was Patrick Bet-David in the beginning asking the question, and now he's asking Kasparian of the Young Turks. And that's her right there. She put up this tweet, and it says, California is, without question, a S show under Gavin Newsom. But I guess propping up proven failures is what a Democratic Party excels at these days. And this is in response to a tweet from Ed Krasenstein over on the Twitters, now known as quote-unquote X. It says, breaking, California Governor Gavin Newsom confirms to Chuck Todd that he won't run in 2024 and says that Kamala Harris is a natural successor to Biden. Newsom definitely would create a lot of buzz if he were to run, etc. Now, this was about 7 days ago, so that's when I guess this tweet was in reference to a few days ago. And this right here was probably right around the time when he posted this back in September. Let's keep on going.
In Los Angeles. I'm not going to leave and just allow the most extreme elements of the left destroy the state. Okay? So I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight and I'm going to make it better. I think LA and California in general still has a lot of potential, but there have been some policies implemented that have been disastrous. So Gavin Newsom and the current Democratic legislature in the state of California have engaged in this trend of decriminalizing everything and refusing to regulate things. So I'll give you.
Now let's pause right here. One thing that they fought for during the whole Black Lives Matter, hands up, don't shoot nonsense that happened a few years back was to let criminals do whatever they wanted to do. Remember the infamous quote from, who was that? Stephen Rawlings Blake, the mayor of, or former mayor of Baltimore or DC, whatever that was. We gave them space to destroy. Remember that? That kind of thing was the sentiment all over the country, especially in a place like California on the left coast. Let's keep on going.
Give you some examples. One of the things that they decriminalize but refuse to regulate is prostitution. Okay. I think that sex work should be legalized and regulated. Okay. What I mean by that is I don't want to see prostitutes walking around in thongs on the streets as kids are walking to school.
I understand what you're saying. What you're saying makes a lot of sense. The second part of what you're saying, but if it's legalized, then how are you really going to stop that? Well, I guess you could just say no indecent exposure. That'd be a way to go. But when you advocate for certain things to be legalized, you kind of opening the door to some other stuff like that going on. You see what I'm saying? So you got to nip it in the bud rather than just kind of being loose with it. And then when it gets out of control, you want to stop it there.
But what the Democrats in California have done is we don't have the balls to actually legalize and regulate it, and we're lazy as hell. So we're just going to do the super lazy thing of decriminalizing, which means we're going to disempower our legal system, disempower law enforcement, and just allow sex workers to do what they're currently doing right now, which is they have no protection, they're not paying taxes, they're being controlled and sex trafficked by Johns. Okay, it is the worst possible.
I'm not sure if that's the correct thing to go. That might not be the right way to say that. I'm not saying that this is the right thing to do, you know, allowing these girls to be on the street. But I think the bigger thing, we talking about trafficking, you got to look at some like organized crime. A lot of, like, let's say you go to a Chinese massage parlor. A lot of times these are run by people that actually traffic these women, and they have to work in the massage parlor to pay off debt. That's much different than some girl going on the blade on Fig or something like that. Not that I've ever been there, but I know a little bit about something, so I keep on going.
Solution to the issue. Okay, no one is safe. Everyone's angry, and you see all sorts of terrible stuff happening right there in broad daylight in the middle of the street. Okay, they did the same thing with drugs. Okay, We're going to decriminalize. So what do you see in California? Bunch of people shooting up, okay, and smoking crack all over the place. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in seeing that. I don't think that we should be, dealing with that on the metro system. Why do?
I agree 100%. I agree. When you decriminalizing the whole drug thing, you're going to see people smoking crack, shooting heroin, doing whatever they want to do right there on the train, right there on the street, right there in front of her school, and there's nothing done. But see, hopefully she doesn't say, let's legalize crack cocaine and let everybody smoke it, because if you're going to legalize drugs, you got to understand these drug addicts are not necessarily going to be very conscientious about where they smoke crack. If you get somebody that's hooked on fentanyl, they're not going to be in the right mind to just be in their house and packing a pipe like your pawpaw did on the couch with a tobacco. He's going to be on the street, laying on the ground, acting the fool, because that's what hardcore drug addicts do, regardless of whether it's legal or illegal. That's what they're going to do. All you can do in that situation is not allow them to be on the street. And when they're acting the fool, when they're shooting up, when they're getting high, arrest them, point blank, period. And try to find a way to not have the drugs permeate your society, which is a whole different story. And for now, I digress.
Taxpayers have to deal with that. So they don't want to do anything to regulate. Again, I am fine with legalizing these things as long as we regulate it.
See, so that's what I'm saying. You want to legalize, so you want everybody to be able to smoke fentanyl. You want fentanyl for recreational use beyond the prescription. You want that to be legalized. How are you going to control a fentanyl user if you are legalizing it? What are you going to say? You can't have fentanyl out here? It's legal. What you going to tell me? How are you really going, you got to get things in the root, and you might not want to do that. And people like you are all over Los Angeles. You don't want to get to the root of the problem and complain about the problem. It's like, come on. All right, look, if I say, let's have a program to get into yards and get the weed at the root so the weeds don't grow. You say, nah, we're not going to do that. And then when the weeds get big, you say, well, hey, why couldn't we get rid of it? Why are we having these weeds take over the yards? Because you didn't want to do what was needed to get the weed at the root from the beginning. That's the problem, in my humble opinion. If you guys think different, let me know in the comments.
As long as we find the right balance to keep everyone safe, keep everyone as happy as they can be, so we can see these cities thrive. But these cities are not thriving, okay? San Francisco is terrifying. And it's hilarious to me because the business community there wants to put lipstick on a pig.
Yeah.
They want to put out this $4 million ad campaign pretending as though everything in San Francisco is all hunky-dory. It's not hunky-dory.
I agree with you again, Anna. Anna, you're hitting, you're batting about 500 right now. Not quite 1,000, you're batting about 500. One out of every two swings, you're hitting a homer into the water.
San Francisco is a nightmare. Yes, violent crime went down a little bit, but Your car's going to get broken into. Okay, you're going to get robbed.
Those are up, by the way. Both of those two categories are
and
up.
And the smash and grabs, and you love the
keep
smash and grabs in LA because they decriminalized under $1,000.
Keep going.
I mean, it's not right. There are certain issues that we've had for a long time. The drug war was a failure. And so going back to the drug war, I don't think is going to be effective. But you know what else isn't effective? Using taxpayer money, funneling it to nonprofits so they can literally buy crack pipes and hand them out at Skid Row.
And bleach
There's
pits.
video evidence of that.
How does that make
so
any sense?
anyone on the left who wants to come at me and pretend like this is just a right-wing scaremongering talking point, you're full of crap, and you should go online and you should watch the videos of literal. We spent $13 billion in Los Angeles alone last year to combat homelessness. You want to know where that money went? That money went to these trash nonprofits who have a bunch of executives making $500,000 a year. You're working for a nonprofit dealing with homelessness. That's my money.
It's big money in homelessness, ain't it? Big homelessness, which ain't nothing but code word for a drug addict who lives on the street. That's what that's code word for. Somebody that's hooked on fentanyl who lives right there on the ground. That's what homelessness means in California.
That's my parents' money, okay? That is the hardworking people of California paying incredibly high taxes that go to what? So yeah, I'm sick of it. And honestly, just experiencing what I've seen on the ground in California has made me question a lot about left-wing ideology.
Now, what?
So there you go. There's more to this clip and there's more to the podcast. This is Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks, and she's on the Patrick Bet David podcast. Shout out to him. Hey, Patrick, if you're watching me right now, I'd love to go on your podcast, and please don't give me a copyright for using your clip. I'm going to link to your podcast and everything in the description box. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But that was pretty good. Like I said, Anna, I agree with you about half of the way. You're batting about 500. Okay, if you bury bonds, you're hitting 1 out of every 2 into the water. The other ones, you might, at best, hit a base hit, you might foul out because you're not really understanding the problem. And this is the issue with Californians and liberals in general. They don't understand. You got to get to the root of the thing. You're talking about the drug war failed. I mean, well, what is the war and how is it being fought? Are we fighting the war on drugs when we allow drugs to come into the country through the southern border? We're not fighting drugs. You might have police on the ground trying to fight it, but when we are importing drugs every single day through the border, we're not trying to fight it. When we protect the poppy fields over in Afghanistan, we're not trying to fight it. When we allow the Chinese to bring in the precursors for methamphetamines and fentanyl and everything else, we're not trying to fight it. When we allow the cartels to manufacture these drugs and bring it across the border, we're not trying to fight it. When we allow Big Pharma to create brand new drugs every single day and put commercials on TV for these drugs, we're not trying to fight it. So are we trying to fight the drug war? Are we really being serious? Or do we just say a thing like that? And in reality, we're not trying to fight it. In fact, we're fueling it. Then at the same time, we say, oh, the drug war failed. We're losing the drug war. How are you going to lose the war when you're actually helping the war rage on? Doesn't make any sense to me. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to Anna for addressing the problem as a liberal, because a lot of liberals don't want to address the issue at all. They don't want to complain. They will do nothing. They will bring the problem on with their policies, and then when the problem hits, they'll just leave. And they'll bring their same California mind virus to Nashville, Tennessee, Phoenix, Arizona, Boise, Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas. They'll bring that same poisonous ideology everywhere. And they can't figure out why a place like Austin, Texas now has the same homelessness that Los Angeles and San Fran and Oakland have. It's because you bring in the same kind of policies and the same kind of nonsense line of thinking to these places that you left in the other spot that made that spot wind up to be the way it is. It's very simple, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what Anna said here? Do you think that she has a point? Does she not have a point? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I think that she was batting about 500. She was accurately identifying the problems and what they are on the ground. She was able to identify what's happening, but she's not really getting to the root of how to solve it. You solve a problem like what she was describing, or the problems, plural, that she was describing by nipping them in the bud. If you got overgrown weeds in your yard, you got to pluck them from the root. Go to the root and kill the weed rather than wait until they get to be 15 foot tall and then saying, hey, where'd the weeds come from? You knew where they came from. You refused to deal with it at the root. Now you got to deal with the gigantic overgrowth that is impacting your yard. It's very simple. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.